Hi, this is Ginny Eckley. I'm really excited to show you how to use Colorhue dyes. So with this method, I'm going to show you how to get something that's evenly dyed. In other words, no pattern, just color and evenly distributed throughout the fabric. And then to get a really soft effect like this. So to get an even dye, what you do is first pre-wet your fabric. And this is really important because occasionally there'll be like one little spot on your fabric where the water is not penetrating. So you really want to pre-wet it, make sure everything is absorbing the water. Then you set the fabric aside, you mix up your dye, and typically I mix it up in a plastic container. I start putting water first and then my dye. And roughly the ratio is 3 parts water to 1 part dye. A lot of it depends on what value you want. And I'll usually take a little strip of the same fabric and drop it in to the color to see if it's the color I want. The one tip I want to give you is remember that when the fabric is wet, it's going to dry a shade or two lighter. So always make it a little bit darker than what you want. So once I have my dye mixed up, I want to put the dye in a large container, one that's about the same size as the fabric or larger, so that the dye will float evenly over the fabric and will absorb it evenly. Okay, then if you want something a little more dynamic that has variations in it, what you do is start with dry fabric and you wad it up. So here is this is a piece of silk habitai, and I just kind of take it like so, wad it up, and then I either put clothespins or rubber bands on it. So this is one that's with clothespins. In the case of the clothespins, you'll get a softer look. This is because it's not restricting the dye quite as much. So this one was done with clothespins. You can see a real soft feel, almost like clouds. So rubber bands create a much sharper line. So this is the same piece of fabric, but when I wad it up, I'm going to come back and put rubber bands on top of it. And so this big piece, like 12 by 14 piece of fabric, ends up about that big, about 2 by 2. So I have rubber bands around it, and then I just drop it into the container of dye. And what happens is you get really sharp lines, and a little variation in color there from white to mid-tones to deep color in the creases. Kind of a variation of these three. What I do is first take my fabric and I wet it, and then I put it in a very soft tone of peach. So the background that you see there, that was dyed first. Then I came and wadded it up with rubber bands. Now, of course, in between I dried it so that I'd have nice sharp images, wadded it up with rubber bands, put it in a stronger color of dye, and that's what you get.